I have social engagement, which I have to do. Excuse me, pollen is high again today, and so might as well put the kettle on as I meander some of my streams of consciousness. So, last night I finally had enough of ignoring the situation in Eastern Europe, okay? Now, while it was perfectly obvious to me that there was a sea of propaganda on all sides, I decided to start trying to find out what's really going on. And to say that the Western media is lying and piss poor reporting to the level of psychosis, literally, you can sum up the Western media's reporting of what's going on in Eastern Europe right now as a mumbling, waffling, Coronzon infected Renfield in a psychiatric hospital. Lots of babble that tells you nothing except bullshit, and they're being bullshitted too. So I started looking at sources for information on that part of the world that didn't have any skin in the game, basically. So I went to Arabic news sources and Asian news sources, so basically things like the Times of India, Press TV, Al Jazeera. And what I got was, from these essentially neutral viewpoints, to a degree I understand, but definitely offering more clarity than what's being offered by Western media in particular. What people are being sold on Ukraine is a pile of absolute monumental bollocks. It's beyond comprehension. And it's worse than the Rona in some ways. As recently as a couple of days ago, Irish mainstream media, and I've seen it in the UK and America too, were talking about the catastrophic defeat of the Russian forces and how Putin is basically sitting down as generals who are offering him a cyanide pill for his failure. So I started looking at the greatest information system to actually understand things, and that's maps, okay? And I found some very good maps on Arabic news sites. Essentially, Russia has conceded almost no ground, none, to the Ukrainian armed forces. Literally fragments here and there. Everything else they've held onto, and they've dug in and they've held. These were their strategic objectives, which did not include Odessa and did not include Kiev. They wanted the Crimea Peninsula, yes. They didn't want Odessa and they didn't want Kiev. They wanted Donetsk and they wanted the eastern frontier and a bit of the southern frontier where the Russian and Ukrainian borders meet. They got it and they've held it. There has been no withdrawal. All this thing about the Battle of Ukraine is utter bullshit invented by the Western media and propaganda systems. Ukraine is not on Putin's or the Russian military's objective. Yes, there has been jets flying in. Yes, there has been this kind of thing and that kind of thing. But the reporting has been the whole ghost of Kiev thing. That level of psychotic lying by the Western media is literally the default thing of how this entire thing has been presented. Right from that initial video of the tank driving over the car, which there were, I was looking at even all the truther morons on YouTube going, Russian bastards, because the spliffs, all the spliffs and all the low intelligence makes them react psychologically through emotions. Oh, Russian bastards, murdering bastards, and all this kind of thing. Turns out that was a Ukrainian tank that lost control and ran over a Ukrainian citizen. But the mainstream media doesn't tell you that part. They don't want to, they go in with the lie, and the lie has to stick. So anyway, the Ukrainians have recaptured some ground, but you're talking about fragments. Fragments. The overall, you talk like of the entire. You're talking about 1 or 2% of the incursion area has been taken back by the Ukrainians. That is not a catastrophic defeat of the Russian army. The absolute bullshit is unbelievable. Now, another thing that has not been or barely been reported in the Western media is Zelensky has been asking for peace talks literally on a daily basis. When was the last time you saw that? It's been reported by the Arabic and Asian media. Every day he's saying the only way to end this war is peace talks. Does someone whose mighty army is destroying the Russians ask for peace talks? It's absolute and utter bollocks what people are being sold about the whole Ukraine thing. It has been thus far, a military success and decisive victory for the Russian forces who have captured and held the specific territories they were after. Now, another thing we're not being told is many of the refugees who fled into Poland have gone back into Ukraine. Why? Because they've realized that their government had been telling them that the Putin and his troops were going to take over the whole country, knowing that wasn't true. And so they ran in terror, thinking that Russian troops are going to go all the way to the Polish border. So now they've realized that Zelensky and their government is lying to them. And so they've gone back home because they know they're perfectly safe. The areas that have been conceded to Russians has been areas that were majority Russian populations that had been treated very, very badly by the Ukrainian government. They've basically been treated in a similar way to how Catholics in Northern Ireland had been treated during the 1960s, which led to the Troubles. And that's what happened. It's that simple. Russia has won. Effectively, it'll never be acknowledged or admitted. They'll always say that they wanted it. They failed to get Ukraine in Odessa. They weren't after Ukraine in Odessa. It's ridiculous. They got what they were after and they've held it. So they cannot admit this because the Western politicians and everyone would go into a psychotic meltdown. Secondly, these sanctions against Russia have not only not affected the Russian economy, but the Russian economy is booming. Booming! The ruble has soared in value. Does that sound like a country that has been destroyed? No, but who is being damaged? The countries in Europe that were bullied into sanctions, and even in the case of Finland, bullied into NATO, in order by the globalists, so basically our supermarket shelves are emptying, the price of oil has gone through the roof, the Western economies are in pieces. And why? Because the Western globalists, the everlasting psychotics who gave you the COVID bullshit, are now treating Russia the way they treated us during the lockdowns. And the lockdowns didn't work on us, those who in the tribe and those who were refuseniks, and it's not working on Putin either. It is the Ukraine thing is at the beginning of the Ukraine thing, I said it is a nothing burger. And I had people on here saying to me, how can you say that? And I looked around and said, well, maybe I was wrong there. I want to repeat again, in case you didn't hear me correctly when I said this a few months ago. The Ukraine thing is a nothing burger. It's only a something burger because of the behavior and the attitude of Western globalists trying to cover their asses by imposing sanctions on Russia and also bullying Sweden and Finland into NATO as well as this trade war that's only affecting us. If Russia had invaded those territories in the Ukraine, and there's a very good case to be made that they're probably Russian anyway, in the same, technically speaking, and there was no sanctions, no war, no mass hysteria, it would be a nothing burger. It's only a something burger because of a homosexual, an erotic homosexual obsession that Western leaders have with Zelensky and his dancing. That's why Micheál Martin, the Irish Prime Minister, is homosexually attracted to Zelensky and will do anything for him. That's his boy band singer, and he's the little teenage girl like this. That's what we're dealing with. So all these refugees that have been brought in, most of whom, or at least half of them, are not even from the Ukraine, should have never happened. It was a classic thing of don't let a good crisis go to waste. Sneezed on the truth. We have been sold such a crock of shit. And it's also ass covering. It's ass covering in the sense that the economic catastrophes created by the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, the globalists, and the individual governments locking down the planet, locking down the West, over a seasonal flu that kills great-grandmothers, they have a way to blame it on Putin. It's as simple as that. It's incompetence and lies being hidden with more incompetence and lies. We have a leadership in the West that is absolutely appalling. It is beyond redemption. It is governments who assign or delegate their actual responsibility to their nation's citizens over to international transnational bodies like the WEF, like the World Health Organization, as well as NGOs in their own country, so they can say, we didn't do it. They are mediocre cowards. They are mediocre cowards who are just delegating, who are middle managers for the globalists at this point. Anyone who can't see this is a fucking moron. An absolute fucking moron. It's as clear as day. The propaganda levels in the West are unprecedented in history. You'd probably have to go back to the Crusades to actually reach something of this level. To the absurdity, particularly maybe the third Swedish Crusade. The final extermination of pagan kingdoms in Europe by the Vatican, the third Swedish Crusade. Do you know what the preeminent event of the third Swedish Crusade was? The Danish army, after slaughtering all the pagans, when you hear this one, their flag fell from God. God dropped the Danish flag from heaven. That's not a joke. That's actually the story they believe there. That God dropped the Danish flag from heaven. Well, you know, the red background with the white cross. As his gift to say, thank you for killing the last of the European pagans who were bothering nobody. You've fully exterminated all non-Christians in Europe. It was around 15 something, 14 something, 15 something. I think late 1500s. The final genocide of the pagans of Karelia and East Prussia. They dropped the Danish flag from heaven, and it fluttered down onto the Danish army, and that because the flag of Denmark became, and all the other Scandinavian groups involved in this genocide, the Swedes and so on, I remember Norway was part of Sweden at that time, all took that design of the cross. Now, I don't mean to slag off people in Denmark or Sweden or anything like that. Your flag, but that's just the origin of your flag. The origin of the flag in my country is fucked up as well. I mean, you have I don't even know what the Irish flag should be at all. We have this green, white, and orange tricolour. Well, how did we get that? Some big-time Irish-American Freemason shows up outside a Masonic building number 33 in the Mall in Waterford City with the tricolour, and suddenly, hey, that's our flag. Now, if it's a tricolour, it has derived itself from the Grand Orient Lodge in Paris. Okay. and that where the initial tricolour of the French Republic came from. That's why most former French colonies have a tricolour. You know, Senegal, well, not Senegal, maybe Cote d'Ivoire and the Ivory Coast and so on. They have tricolours. Tricolours are now we don't even and we don't even know what the tricolour represents on the Irish flag. That's just a made up story about green, white, and orange to Catholics and Protestants. We don't know. There's no document you can actually say that's what that means. It's just the tricolour, and we all know where the tricolours initially came from. Adam Weishaupt, his infiltration of the Grand Orient Lodge, what they call the Bavarian Illuminati, which I don't even understand why it's called the Bavarian Illuminati, because Weishaupt comes from them. He was an employee of the banking families in Frankfurt. So it should really be called the Hessian or the Westphalian or the Prussian Illuminati. I don't know how, like, Bavaria would be the least Freemasonic part of Germany because it's Catholic. So even that's weird that it's called that. It should really be called the Hessian, the Hessian Illuminati. But whatever. That was the purpose of that. The banking families wanted to implement republics around Europe by means of revolution in order to make business better for them. So, and it was the Rothschilds and all that crowd in Frankfurt, and not just them, but others too. So that weren't like connected to the Rothschilds. All kinds of banking dynasties in Hesse employed the Bavarian Illuminati. And that's all. Those stories are all true. And you talk to people and say there's no such thing as the Bavarian. What? It's in the fucking history books, you douche. This is what you're dealing with. And so then you say, well, okay, if the tricolour isn't the legitimate flag of Ireland, well, then what is? Well, I say, well, if you look at 1916, when the war really began against the British for independence, the flag that was hoisted above the GPO in Dublin by the Central Command was a green flag that said Irish Republic on it, and it was actually, it was captured by the British. So, generally speaking, and they gave it back after a while. After there was a famous photograph of the British soldiers posing with the Irish Republic flag after they defeated the initial defeat. The Irish won in the end, but the flag said Irish Republic, on it, and so maybe that's it. Maybe that's the real flag. I don't green with the very attractive lettering on it. And then you say, well, the one about the harp, that's the biggest bullshit of all, because the harp is the symbol of British rule in Ireland, British royalty in Ireland. It's the argent of King William. It's the flag of the client state of the Kingdom of Ireland. The Kingdom of Ireland was an English client state. So those people who think that the harp is the true flag of Ireland, that's not. That's a British symbol. That's British regalia. Oh, well, English regalia. It's not even British, it's English. So, I mean, the weird thing is, if you have to actually name a flag that you could say is the true flag of Ireland, you really couldn't. Even the St. Patrick's Cross, that was invented by the Vatican, and that's how it became part of the Union flag in 1801. So it's like, Ireland, what's Ireland's flag? That's actually authentically Irish. And you look at so many things like this. I mean, that's why I wasn't when Leo Varadkar said we probably need a new flag. He meant that because for his own political survival of the establishment in Ireland. But I do agree that Ireland probably does need a proper flag, finally a real flag. And to me, the obvious choice that wouldn't be either French Freemasonic, English royalty, or a proper flag would be the Triscola, the triple spirals from Newgrange, on a blue background, because blue was the traditional colour of Ireland. In fact, the Christians adopted blue in the early days and called it St. Patrick's blue, but the colour blue went right back to woad and ancient times. Do you remember, although it wasn't historically accurate, the blue paint in Braveheart. Well, that was woad, and that was blue was a very, very our ancient ancestors didn't dress in greys and blacks and browns. They were dressed in many colors, and the woad blue gives you the ability to do other colors. But mixing it with things like red ochre, you can get purples and stuff. But so I would be in favor of like a sort of a mid blue color flag with the Triscola from Newgrange on it, because that's the oldest piece of Irish artwork that we can actually say is Irish, and we do know that the oldest colour that represented Ireland was blue. The green thing is Catholic. And even when the Irish soccer team first started playing after independence, the Northern Ireland soccer team said, no, we're the green. We're the original Irish Football Association. We wear the green. So for a while, the Southern team wore a blue. In fact, they wore it in a game recently, and it looked very attractive. And you had all these assholes going, it looks like Rangers outfit. No, it's actually ironically more authentically Irish than the green. But you wouldn't know that with your nicotine coated digits scraping along the pavement as you walk, and your fingernails that are wider than they're longer. Troglodytes. Yeah, I mean, so like that, everything is there's so much lies. So like, maybe the tribes should adopt that as our flag. Maybe if any of you are any good at like silkscreen printing or something, design a flag based on a style. I mean, maybe it would be in gold or white. The Triscola from Newgrange, but it wouldn't be like exactly. It would be like a stylized version of that. The triple spiral on a blue background. Yeah, maybe one of you want to design that. We'll design our own new flag of Ireland and the tribe. But it really is obnoxious, how much we've been lied to. Like, I get a lot since Sanity for Sweden mentioned me on his channel. He brought over a few hundred subscribers. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. And some of these lads were Christians. And they were quite shocked when they encountered me, because I'm not a holy roller. I don't believe in that stuff. But I'm not. I mean, I have Christian friends, just like I disagree with, but we're still friends and all that stuff. But it's like the time when I mentioned to somebody that, like, in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus Christ refers to Gentiles as dogs, and they don't want to hear that. They go absolutely ballistic, absolutely fucking ballistic. And I said, where did that say? I says the Canaanite, I think it was a Canaanite woman. The Canaanite woman came up to Jesus and says, my daughter is sick. And then Jesus said, why should I feed a dog? And it says in the Gospel of St. Matthew that Jesus and the apostles laughed and mocked the Canaanite woman. And then he said, why should I feed? And then the Canaanite woman said, even the dogs eat the crumbs from the table of its master. And then when she had begged and groveled enough for Jesus and admitted that Jesus was her master, or made the Gentiles were servants of the rabbinical class, then Jesus says, okay, I'll cure your daughter. So and he actually starts a sentence on, I have been sent to heal the children of Israel. And she refers to him as Jesus of the house of David. He was royalty if he existed, but no, they go through the roof. I'm Matthew, who actually physically wrote that piece of text in the Synoptic Gospels. Jesus Christ was a bigoted rabbi who taught, and when he goes, my message is for the when he talked about love, he didn't talk about you. He was talking about Jews. You understand? I'm not anti-Jewish. I mean, I've got half a Jewish family, but I'm just telling you what the truth is. He was a rabbinical fanatic. He wasn't talking about all mankind. He would have, all these Irish who go, oh Jesus, I love you, Jesus. He would have thought them. He considered them dogs. Now, there's a whole thing of like that. That could be a misinterpretation, or you could just say, well, okay, that's unfortunate, but I like the other stuff he said. I've no problem with that. That's your own business. I mean, there's also, I think, the more Christians I talk to that I respect, that when I talk to them and they start talking about it, I realize, and they don't realize it, but I realize they're either folk Catholics or they're esoteric Christians. By that I mean, when you say like a folk Catholic, well, Catholicism is paganism with just a bit of Judaism thrown onto it. That's what Catholicism is. And esoteric Christianity is kind of interesting. In fact, it's very interesting, and it is a wordy kind of thing. And Carl Jung has written extensively on the esoteric Christianity of the Synoptic Gospels, and yeah, so I get all that, totally get all that. So it's funny to me, the most sincere Christians I meet are not biblical Christians. They're not Second Temple rabbinical Christians. They're more inclined to be either folk Catholics, although they don't know it or they won't admit it, or they're esoteric Christians, in the sense that they see a Christ-like kind of energy force. And so a gentleman, he probably hates my guts now, left a comment on the video yesterday saying that I don't want the Luciferian world order. And I turned around and replied to him, I hate to say it to you, but a Luciferian world order would be actually better for us than the Abrahamic Marxist one. Now, he's probably went through the roof reading that, and so have others. But that's you see, if you look at esoteric Luciferianism, think of Faust. Think of the Book of Job. Then again, I'm not talking to Christians. I forget you don't actually read the Bible. Think of the Book of Job, where this entity in the Old Testament tortures people, and this narcissistic entity tortures people, and even sacrifices his own son. And you have this guy called this allegedly this fallen angel called Lucifer, who says, "Why do you worship this?" See, and this esoteric and Lucifer apparently. Well, Lucifer is not mentioned in the Bible anywhere. That's a complete mistake. Protestants who wrote the King James Bible can't translate Hebrew properly, and Lucifer appears nowhere in the biblical text. Nowhere, not even in the Hebrew ones. It's a mistranslation of a Jewish term, a Hebrew term, and they just assumed it was Lucifer. Lucifer, in fact, is a pagan Roman god, Greco-Roman god, Folklorist to the Greeks, and Lucifer to the Romans, representing the planet Venus, the morning and the evening star. Now, so that's when I go Ave Lucifer, long live the horned gods, I'm talking about the pagan Lucifer, the pagan Greco-Roman Lucifer, who represents very similar concepts as the esoteric Lucifer of Alice Bailey and the Luciferian Society and Theosophy and so on, in that it's a flash of insight, like it's not so much the eureka moment, it's like, what, this is bullshit, so it's like when Lucifer went in heaven, in the esoteric Lucifer in heaven, we saw this bully god and he wanted to be worshipped all day. Boom, this is bullshit. And it actually comes from an Indo-European word called luke, which means a flash of thought, a flash of brilliance, a flash of unbridled truth. And this is where Loki in the Norse king comes from, and Lu in the Irish mythological pantheon comes from. A flash of pure honesty, pure light, the pure light. And the Freemasons took that over in many ways, and with the Anni-Lucius, where James Ussher, who was the Church of Ireland Archbishop of Dublin, who set the Anno Lucius, the day of the earth the first day of the creation. If you really read into it, it's really when man had free will, when a man developed free thought. So the falling of Lucifer from heaven represents the Anno Lucius, the year of light, boom, like that kind of thing. And so that's all comes from that. The Christians are probably boiling their own piss right now. But it's like, I'm sorry, folks, I'm not lying to you. I'm telling you the truth. But you've been your truth gurus have lied to you just as much as the mainstream in their own different way. Like Molech is an owl. Molech is not an owl. Molech is a bull. The owl is the owl of Athena. Anyway, I'm not even going to go there. Your minds are already blown, sadly. But yeah, so it's like you really, that's what got me thinking last night. You really have to, not only is the An example of the Bavarian Illuminati should really call the Hessian Illuminati. There's even deceptions within everything, everything. You see, the reason why they don't call it the Hessian Illuminati is why? Because the British royal family are predominantly Hessians. You go to Darmstadt. I mean, I've got a video called Occult Darmstadt somewhere on the internet, and you saw there's all the British royal family are all come from there. So you don't want you knowing that they were all involved in that crowd as well. But they've covered those trails very well. So what's a great way to cover that trail? By calling it the, see, Trump was a genius when he said the China virus, because he was bringing it home. They were calling it everything else, you know, like as if it, but he actually, that was a Luciferian thing that Trump did, calling it the China virus. The unbridled truth of the situation, the unbridled bang of like, this is undeniable, the Luke, the flash of light, the crack, the flash of light followed by the crack of thunder. The thunder being the foundations of thought, the foundations of orthodoxy being smashed by Thor's hammer Mjolnir, and new thinking and new ideas. Because see, this isn't it lovely being a pagan, and new ideas coming in. I'm not saying you should become one. We don't apostolize or convert, but yeah, I mean, and then other people complaining that I use bad language. Well, fuck that. I don't care. Just you don't understand. In Ireland, you see Americans. You Barry Drewmore types, and others in America are quite shocked by the amount of curse words Irish people use, particularly fuck. Okay, now, and then because in America there's a belief that people of low intelligence curse. And then they come to Ireland and they meet people who are highly educated and well read and well versed, going fuck this, fuck that. It's like the thing from Derek and Clive. Fuck me, Fred. There's a fucking gorilla fucking your fucking wife with a fucking asshole. Well, fuck me. And they're shocked by this. Like, you're educated, but you're saying fuck and cunt and shit and all these words. And they're saying, yeah, so the reason why Irish people curse a lot is because many of the kind of expressions that we express through the Irish language were taken from us when we were forced to speak English. But that same mode of expression that derives from inside our Celtic Gaelic soul is still there to be expressed through our collective consciousness as a race, and so we use those words. We're also very open sexually as well. Irish people are. That's a complete bullshit thing. Irish people are prudish when it comes to sex. They're quite the opposite. We talk about like it's like a national sport, but it's because it kind of is. Even Catholic times we have big families, but that's the pagan in us. That doesn't mean pagans were all like orgy people or anything like that. That's not true at all. That was all invented by the Christians to make us all look like animals. If you look at the family structures in pagan cultures, they were surprisingly conservative. Even amongst the Romans, there was the whole thing of a family structure, and the importance of family, was sacrosanct to pagan peoples. A big deal, And so that was it's like the Christians who say, if we didn't have the Bible, we wouldn't have any morality. When a Christian says that, that's an insight into what kind of person they are. Because that'd be like someone saying, it's a good thing they have laws against murder, because I'd be fucking murdering people. Huh? And that's what they're really telling about themselves and their own lack of decency when they cite, if it wasn't for the Bible, we wouldn't have any morals. Do you know why pagans don't have the Ten Commandments? Because it's obvious. You don't need to be told not to kill people and steal their stuff and all that. You don't need to be told these things. It's obvious. But no, the Christians and Abrahamics had to be told it because they couldn't understand. I mean, even look at I had to laugh at the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, well, it represents great truths, Well, Well, yeah, except the first one says honor to, every murdering people is less than God's. But when those, again, like Jesus and the Canaanite woman, if you're Canaanite Pharisee, I can remember, those laws were written for Jews, so it was okay. That's why when Moses was going to the Holy Land, they massacred pagan tribes, took the virgin girls and killed all the boys and men, and killed anyone, because thou shalt not kill was thou shalt not kill Jews, fellow Jews. Hey, but Canaanites and Pharisees, they're all there for a game. And this is what you Christians don't seem to understand. The Bible is a book of great truth. As a Presbyterian Christian of British background, I take great pride in what the Bible brings to me and my people. The Bible doesn't even consider you anything less than a dog. Have you ever thought about that one? No, you can't. No, no, you can't go there. Can't go there. It's my sacred book of truth. Not for you. Never was. All those early bishops were all called rabbis in the Catholic Church. But hey, look, I don't want to fall out with the Christian people I love. Okay, I know I'm overstepping the bounds maybe in terms of my hurting them, but I don't mean to hurt them. I'm just saying this is why I am who I am and where I come from. And if you're going to come on my Facebook page or my Facebook page or my YouTube columns and being all Mr. like, how dare you say this about my Christian faith? Well, don't, and especially the famous one. What about the Christians being in danger? I couldn't give a flying fuck. Thomas, what do you think of the war against Christianity? I don't give a fuck. The only problem with the war against Christianity, it's another Abrahamic group called the Marxist, and then another Abrahamic group called the Islamists, who are actually at a war with you. Otherwise, I couldn't give a flying fuck. When I look at the Middle East, I go, let the Abrahamics take care. Yeah, as long as they're wiping each other out, I don't give a fuck. Nothing to do with us. And, yeah. So it's just the whole thing. It's like, I just told you about how the Danish flag was made. The Christians exterminated the pagans of Europe in wars that lasted for about nearly 1,000 years. More, maybe 1,200 years. And then you're supposed to say to me, oh, what are Christians in the West? Are you going to offend us, Thomas? No. Not a hope in hell. And that's the HEL of the Norse. No. I don't feel sorry for you. I know what you did to my ancestors and what you did to your own ancestors. So don't be telling me like, oh, Christian. I mean, but at the same time too, I would go to war to protect your right to be a Christian in the West, to be a Muslim in the West, to be a Hindu, to be a pagan, to be an atheist. I would protect you to be that, because ultimately, the concept of Western freedom is derived from the Romans. Well, from all pagan tribes, but particularly the Romans. The Romans didn't give a shit what religion you were once you didn't start armies. And this is the mistake, not a mistake, but that was the whole point. The Russians never interfered in the spiritual life of the people they conquered. It was none of their, that's separate, that's their own business. That's their own business. So, tolerance, the Western concept of tolerance comes ultimately from from paganism, not from Judeo-Christianity. Judeo-Christianity. Why don't you call it Islamo-Christianity? That's even more. That's far more accurate. I believe in Judeo-Christianity, Christian morals. Let's go what that really is. Judeo-Islamic Christian morals. Okay, that's what that is. What Islam is not involved in it. Of course it is. It's the same religion. It's just been bespoke changed for Arabs by a businessman called Muhammad. That's all that is. And but if that's what you're into, I will protect your right to religious freedom no matter what. You'll have to pay taxes. I don't believe this thing of tax-free status for religions, but I will protect you no matter what. No matter what. I will protect your free speech and your right to worship any god or not that you wish. I will fight for that. Especially for you atheists that hate me. So many atheists out there hate me because they can't really pigeonhole me because I'm not a Christian. And I'm not New Age neo-pagan. So they fucking especially hate me because they can easily pigeonhole a Christian, but they can't really pigeonhole me because I don't fit the format of what they think an orthodox spiritual religious person or spiritual person is about. But atheism is full of shit as well, lots of ways. And I'm not just talking about like evolution. I mean, I believe more or less in the concept of Darwinian evolution. I just believe that there was an initial trigger somehow. Just like the creation of the universe. Yeah, there was an initial trigger. Sorry, nothing doesn't come from nothing. We're still learning. We'll find out, of course. But the classic, I think that's why I like Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance a lot. There's like his concept a lot. But the pagans, the atheists, right? Now we've had, I find it fascinating. See, you have Brian Cox, the absolutely gorgeous Brian Cox, right? The absolutely gorgeous Brian Cox, right? Always looks like he's taking a shit when he's smiling, right? I'm gonna get science is gonna get this huge turd out of my fucking ass. That's Brian Cox, right? Absolutely gorgeous Brian Cox, right? And you couldn't pay for the entertainment and knowledge I give you anywhere from my heart. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, the Round Towers book with Neil MacDonald is nearly finished, and the Round Towers documentary film is flying along now. Thank you for those who contributed towards that, because it allowed me to get the place like Orkney in England, and even I was able to pay some generous people were very generous. I was able to help Neil out with some of his stuff as well. On the other side, Timony and Jason are building a music studio so we'll have the productions all set and ready to go. It's all settling down now. I need a new camera, so thank you very much because I dropped the other one in Orkney and I think I can't get the lens to fit properly. But or I'll either have to get it fixed, whichever is cheaper. But so thank you for that. I actually go out there on the ground, make the film, appear in the place, do the on the ground research. I don't sit at home getting clips off YouTube and off photos off the internet that other people took and used, and then give my version of British Israelism, so you can send me more money for spliffs and stuff like that. No, we actually invest in our product. So thank you very much for that, speaking of which, okay? But you couldn't pay for the entertainment that I give you in these things anyway. I would like to be able to make a living from it, but unfortunately YouTube takes my ad money away. But, atheist, absolutely gorgeous Brian Cox. What does he say? What do Brian Cox and those type of scientific atheists go after? People who believe in ghosts. What fucking harm are people who believe in ghosts doing to the world? What harm are they causing? How are they holding back anything? They're not. They just believe in ghosts. Or they might believe in or they might believe in Bigfoot, they might believe in anything. Leave them alone. So the atheists go after them. They love going after them, right? Brian Cox. They love going after them, right? But they don't go after. Where's the big atheist backlash against the belief that there's no chromosomes anymore and gender's a construct? Where's the big atheist backlash to that? No, they're all going after people who believe in ghosts or life after death. Where's the big atheist backlash against the grooming gangs in the north of England? No, don't mention that. Where's the big atheist backlash against defense of, say, J.K. Rowling? No, doesn't go there. Where's the big atheist backlash? But lots of things that they should be helping. They should be involved in things that are damaging society. And people believing in ghosts is not one of them. Yes, they don't have to believe this. They can think it's nonsense. They can do their website and say it's silly and it's nonsense. But these are the people they go after. I find it amazing. Who's that guy, the amazing Randy, that cantankerous old shite, who I actually quite liked in some ways. He spends his life going after people who believe in ESP, believe in the telekinesis, believe in ghosts, believe in life after death, and he goes after them with a vicious ferocity. Where was that atheistic vicious ferocity when it came to the grooming gangs in the north of England that are of a certain religion? Where's the atheistic ferocity against things like circumcision, which is uniquely based and entirely based upon religion? No, they leave those real issues alone, infant genital mutilation, and they go after some fucker who believes that he's talking to his granny's ghost and not bothering anyone in any way. So there you go, atheists. You go after the people who are the least danger to your Western society or your community, and the ones that are really using a religion to wreak genuine havoc in the world: circumcision, grooming gangs, terrorist attacks, all kinds of things. You don't go after them. Interesting, isn't it? What as the gorgeous Brian Cox on stage, right? Never talks about those things, but he goes about the universe is wonderful. It's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. Like, it's gorgeous. Like me. And people who don't believe in science, and even the way they say the science is settled on climate change. I thought science couldn't be settled. Atheists. They go after easy targets, but the real ones damaging. Where were the atheists to stand up about what happened in the Bataclan in Paris? Where were you then? Or the mass murders of Muslims by Buddhists in Myanmar? Yeah, Buddhists mass murdering people over religion. Yep. Sorry, those you Zen monkeys. I believe in Buddhism because it's a philosophy and not a religion. No, it's a fucking religion. Fuck's sake. But yeah. So there you go, atheists. There's a new project for you. Instead of going after people who believe in Bigfoot, aliens, telekinesis, or ESP, and attacking and savaging them, and are not harming anybody really, why don't you go after the hard religious and fundamentalist targets? You won't. You know why? Because you're fucking cowards. That's why. Now, speaking of cowards, we're going to have a big problem if these food supplies, and it looking like they are going to be cut down. They're going to be lost. We're looking at bad situation there. Now, I was talking to a dear friend of mine yesterday, and she was showing me photographs of her vegetable garden and growing them in Sligo. Doing a beautiful job. And I am totally in favour of people growing vegetable gardens. It's a great idea. It's great exercise. It's a beautiful thing to grow your own food. It's going to be no good in the survival situation. No. Because what's going to happen is, and I'm not putting down people who grow their own food, none of the sort. I have endless admiration for you. Okay, let's talk about it. Food supplies get cut off. Joe Normie comes home to the family. There was no bird's eye fish fingers in the supermarket today. I got some tinned fish instead. Joe Normie comes back to the supermarket the next day. There's no tinned fish now left in the supermarket. There's no fish, so we got bread, butter, pasta, and there's still a bit of meat knocking around. Comes back the next day. All the meat is gone. There's only bread, butter, and pasta. Comes back. All the pasta's gone. There's only bread and butter. Are you feeling kind of weak? I don't feel very strong in the last couple of days. Comes back to now. All the bread and butter is gone. There's nothing in the supermarket. He switches on the TV. The minister for flatulence comes on and goes, "We will be working to make sure that shelves are filled again. Oh, okay, they're going to go, there'll be trucks coming tomorrow. Second day, the trucks with the food don't come. Hold on, kids, the minister will be here. Third day, he doesn't come. Fourth day, he doesn't come. 2 weeks later, the trucks still don't arrive. And they're starving. And they're, because of their blood sugar levels in their skulls, they're all now become into psychosis, okay? So they will start looking for food anywhere they can find it. So they walk out to their neighbours and they go, "There any food?" And they would go, "I ain't got any food." No. "Did you buy any extra food before the food while the Ukraine war was going on?" No, I didn't. I bought a satellite TV system. We gotta get food. We got food. No food. I'll get food. Then someone will say, "Your man down the road has a vegetable plot with loads of cabbages and shit in it." And they'll all run down there and they'll be like pulling the fucking turnips out. And there's all the work that you've put into your vegetable garden for survival completely gone when these animals stay. Now, they'll all be dead a few hours later because they've all died from the muck and the lack of... They've already been dying anyway for sanitary reasons anyway. But, and all the carbohydrates. They're just not getting any protein. So they'll be all dead anyway. So they'll be eating up your vegetable patch, and nothing you could do about it unless you've got like automatic weapons and you live in the middle of nowhere. But a lot of the vegetable patches are in suburban areas or areas near urban areas, and they'll know where you live because it's your polytunnel and your greenhouse is very visible. So all the effort, both physical, financial, and so on, that you put into growing these vegetables for your survival garden. Well, all the animals, all the meat will be eating it. Will just run in there one day and eat it all, and you can't stop them. So the thing is, unless you live in a very remote area and have guns, and you have neighbours who are also doing the same thing that can help protect each other's frontier, like agricultural frontier. If you're living outside an urban town or suburban area with supermarkets and shops, and you're growing a vegetable garden, well, Joe Meat and his family and his friends are all going to come there screaming like zombies to eat the stuff out of the ground. Fuck off! I found a fucking leak. That's what it'll be like. In 10 seconds, your vegetable garden will be gone. So the best thing is to have stored up food inside your house, stored up in all different places, and don't be doing this and anywhere else. If you have a shed in the countryside somewhere, or even an old truck that's parked somewhere, put it in there. There's lots of places you can put it. And they might come looking for that, but they're less likely to come looking for that because it'll be harder for them to get into your front door. Because if you have weapons, even a machete or something, you can hack them all down because they'll be all out of blood sugar levels. They'll be all like, they have no strength left from they've gone into hyperglycemic shock from no longer having processed foods. But they're very unlikely they'll enter your home for lots of reasons. But if they see your crops in your garden or in your allotment or on the field, that to them, especially if you have an allotment in a city and you're growing that as your supply for when the apocalypse comes, that'll be the first to go. Of course, you can grow that stuff and can it. Great idea. And store that stuff up as well. Canning and fermenting, and that's the way to go as soon as that stuff is grown. But don't be depending on what's in the ground to keep you alive. When Joe Normie realizes that the trucks are not coming to stock up the food shelves. Just putting that out there, not causing any worry. Just maybe saying, instead of just thinking in terms of when the shit hits the fan, I'll have a garden of food to live on. You won't. You won't. They'll be on that. Like they'll be on that. They'll be, especially our new arrivals, who from the, should we say, less respectable parts of the world, they're used to doing that anyway in their normal countries, and they'll just revert back to what they are. So you'll have like a case of dog is rat, eating all the Swedes and the turnips out of your survival garden. Just something to think about. So I'm just putting it. Ironically, people in an apartment with some stored up food, like 3 or 4 months or 6 months stored food, will be in a much better position than someone that has 4 or 5 acres of vegetable plots in their backyard. Ironically, but that's just a fact. You're not going to be able to protect that. So, where if you have your food in your house, you can literally screw your front door shut or your apartment door shut that's actually a very good idea. If you have enough water inside or a means to collect rainwater, and you live in an apartment building with 6 months of food, it might be a very good idea to get yourself an electric screwdriver with big long screws and driving them into the doors, into the front door to lock your bolt, or finding ways to bolt yourself in so they can't get in. And you can be locked in there for 6 months. You'll be bored. Well, you shouldn't be bored. And if there's still a water supply or a way of getting water or a storage of water, you'd probably be okay. You'll probably be okay. It'll be like, you're probably safe until things calm down. It'll only take a few months for things to get back together again. But that would be, and you'd be safer in lots of other ways too. You'd be less likely to have to deal with rats eating the bodies and stuff like that. So just saying now, this is the worst case scenario, highly unlikely to happen. But I'm telling you for a fact but even if there wasn't starvation, they'll raid your vegetable plot. That's just what they're like. You'll have the scangers and the shavs and the other knackers all coming down to your and robbing the food out of your plot just because it's free food to them. So I think this is where you really got to get your foraging and wild food thing going. If there's a way of catching fish or collecting birds' eggs where you live, you should be really looking into things like that. Big time. And rather than, I think, in fact, I would go, other than a hobby or for canning, I think your vegetable garden, unless you live in a very remote area or you have really good weapons and people and a group to protect it, your vegetable garden is probably going to be the most a hindrance if the shit hits the fan, for the simple reason that you'll put all this work into something that the local fuckhead who's starving and is ugly fucking kids will eat in 5 seconds, and or we'll go there late at night and get it or something like that. So you have to think, those of you growing vegetable gardens for survival, you really need to think that one out in a different way. If you're growing it for, like I said, hobbies, the beautiful satisfaction of it, canning, great stuff. But to think that you're going to be going in a food crisis, going out there every morning and collecting the cabbages, you won't, because you'll go out there one morning and some local shitbags will have stolen everything in it because they'll have just seen you have done all that work for them. Just putting that out there, okay? No judgment calls. So, what else haven't I spoke about today? What haven't I bored you with today? Nothing. Look, have a lovely week. The Weekend Strangers tomorrow night on Beyond Room 313. And, sanguine gnosis. Ave Lucifer, long live the horn gods. Love yous all to bits, regardless of what fucking religion or not you are or not. And, you don't need no 10 Commandments. It's already in here, and it's already in here. Ghost real!